So, are you ready to go out there?
Today we'll talk about newly released UFO reports to Congress.
That's right. The report was released this past Friday, January 25th. And as you can imagine, we've been waiting on it, and we're very excited to bring you the information in that report. So come on and join us as we have an in-depth dissection of this report, and we pull out all the key details and takeaways that you need to know. To be clear, the report we're talking about is from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and it's titled Preliminary Assessment, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, dated 25 June 2021. That's the report that we are referencing today. All right, so let's talk numbers, guys. First thing we want to do here is just break out all the different numbers that they reference throughout this report. And the first numbers that I'm going to start with are dates. The dates are the date range of incidents that they're looking at here. They're only looking from November 2004 until March 2021. So they're not looking at historical cases, they're not looking at Roswell, none of that.
They're not looking at anything before this time. They're only looking at the report that they did from the time that they started it to right now when they released it on the 25th.
Yes, and looking at those dates, I call that the smartphone era. I mean, 2004 until 2021.
Yeah.
They're just looking at the dates where you guys have evidence because you got smartphones. They're like, hey, these other times, they can't prove anything.
Exactly.
This is the smartphone era, so we have to address it.
Yeah, I guess that's what
that's what I'm thinking. But so that's the first numbers I want to throw out there is just the date range.
Yeah.
And the next couple numbers I want to throw out is 144. That's the number of reports that they have received in that time period. And all these reports are U.S. government sources.
Yes.
So this is not, citizens. This is not anybody else, other countries. No, this is 144 reports from U.S. government, whether it be military personnel, government personnel. They work for the government.
Exactly.
And 80 is the number of these reports that have actually been observed with multiple sensors.
Yes.
So it would be, this thing's been observed by multiple cameras, or a camera and a radar, or a radar and infrared, or a camera and infrared. So all of these reports, out of the 144, 80 of them have actually been recorded with some form of multiple sensors.
Exactly.
So that's kind of solid. I mean, 80, that's...
Yeah. Or it could be somebody viewed it, they seen it on radar, and they were flying, and they were close enough to look outside of the pilot's window and actually view the craft. So...
Yeah. And another thing I'll note, that's not quite a number, but they're saying most of these reports, most of the 144, were actually incidents that interrupted ongoing military training events or other military activity. So these were kind of big incidents, basically.
Well, we have to say something about that. So if they interrupt only military training, they have to say something about that. Only time you've seen them and the most time you've seen them is when we're performing our military training. So there's something about that. Maybe that they're looking at our military training, or they're looking at our military might, or they may be looking at our technological equipment and seeing how powerful we are and how much we are a threat to them if they're outside force as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting that they would use, and I quote, the word most of these reports that happened where multiple people observed it. I have a couple more numbers for you guys. Here's the number 11. 11 is the number of reports that were actually near-miss collisions between a UFO and a U.S. craft.
So out of 80, 11 of those were close encounters of the third kind.
Yeah, of the dangerous kind.
The dangerous
Nearly
kind.
collided.
Nearly collided. So, in 11 of those cases, I guess a pilot or whoever was flying close next to these objects had to move or maneuver in a certain way to miss a collision with this outer space alien or UFO or unidentified flying object.
Yeah, I mean that's too close for comfort. And
Yeah,
11 is a
too
big
close.
number. I mean, I didn't know there was one case like that, let alone
Exactly.
11. So
11
I'm liking
is
these
big.
numbers. So I have another number for you. That number is 18. 18 is the number of incidents where observers reported that the UAP had odd movement patterns or unusual flight characteristics. So I think, to me, that's the number I'm most interested in.
Yeah.
Is, out of all of these reports,
Yeah.
which ones are really the most mysterious and which ones really need the most investigation? And I think it would be this 18.
Yeah. So, let's get into the capabilities of the crafts. Now, out of all these 18 crafts, they had different capabilities. And let's get into some of the capabilities of these crafts that these people that noticed these crafts, they noticed certain capabilities that these crafts had that we as the U.S. government don't have, such as remaining stationary in mid-air during any type of high-speed winds that are going on. So winds are not affecting its flight pattern. The amazing speeds that it takes. The turns that it takes. Also, the propulsion system that you are not aware of. You can't see any jet engines, any fire coming out of the vessel to see what type of propulsional system it has in order to make its flight possible.
Yeah, I think that one right there is, is the smoking gun, right? It's like they have no discernible means of propulsion. Like they can't tell how it's actually, moving itself.
Yeah, exactly. And also, when they went close to these objects, every object gave off a certain radio frequency. And it was a certain unique radio frequency that was seen from these crafts, from the operators of these high functional equipment that we have that sense radio frequencies and sense certain anomalies like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very telling again. That's just as important to me as the fact that there's no discernible means of propulsion, is that when a significant proportion of them, they were able to actually detect these radio frequency energy patterns associated with the object. So to me, that's almost like saying that somehow it has some electromagnetic means of propulsion in a way.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
that's saying that they've found a way to control gravity electromagnetically. That would say
Exactly.
gravity's electromagnetic, or it's able
Exactly.
to be affected by it in some way.
So it has some type of connection
Yeah.
to electromagnetic fields that they're controlling, that helps their flight pattern, that helps them go fast, that helps them turn, that helps them have a certain type of speed and give off a certain frequency every time they do move. And when they do move, no wind, no matter how fast the wind is going around, their flying object or flying ship or craft is not affected by any of the wind or anything that's going on around.
Yeah, I mean, that's very telling as well, as you're saying that they're able to demonstrate this control of their position, of their tilt, and accelerate, decelerate quickly, all without being impacted at all by the wind or the surrounding environment.
Exactly.
That is interesting.
That's interesting. Well, Jay, I want to ask you something. Since these things are showing up everywhere, our military is having military practice. Don't you think that's an act of national security that we should be worried about? That these objects are showing up more often every time that we're practicing or carrying out our military might, as I may say?
You know, that's a good point, man. And I think that, you know, for them, the way that they put it in this report, they're saying that, you know, it's definitely a flight safety issue.
Oh, yes.
But they're only regarding it as a national security, quote-unquote, challenge right now.
Oh, wow.
And I think the way they're getting around that is they're saying, hey, due to cluttered airspace and the fact that, you know, the FAA, along with the military, you know, they document and track every flight so that they can make sure that the flights don't cross paths.
Yeah.
Obviously, these things are outside of that, and they're not registering their flight paths. So from just purely the standard of flight safety, they're saying, yes, for sure, it's a flight safety issue.
Yeah, it is.
And especially if you consider they've had 11 near misses themselves.
Exactly.
That's literally a flight safety issue.
Exactly.
You know, but I do think where they're calling a national security challenge is because they've left themselves a little bit of an out because they have said that they are not able to confirm that the unusual flight characteristics and things like that of the observations are not some kind of sensor error or spoofing or misinterpretation, and they need more study. But after they do their additional study, if they do determine that that stuff is true, then, you know, it would become more than a national security challenge at that point. It would actually become a reality of a national security issue. But I think the other thing that they're leaving out there is they're saying that they haven't determined whether this is a foreign adversary collection platform or whether this is breakthrough technology or disruptive technology. So I think they're saying that is still undetermined. So at that point, they can't directly say, yes, this is a national security threat. Right now, they're saying it's a national security challenge. So saying, hey, we have to determine if it's a threat still.
Well, as saying that we still have to determine that it's not from another country, it's not from a neighboring, you know, entity. It's from something. Or
a business.
Or a business.
Some business like SpaceX, right?
Exactly. So after they do all this determination, then they'll determine or tell the U.S. people if it's a national threat or not.
Well, one thing I will throw in there, the one thing they are quote-unquote confirming is they're saying it's not one of theirs. So they do say it's not one of ours, and we have to determine, is it another government? Is it a non-government like a corporation? Is it, hey, from out of this world?
Exactly. Where is it from? And if they can't determine where is it from, and they don't know where is it from, and they just now figuring out where is it from, hey, they still trying to figure it out. And
well, you know, one more thing I want to throw out there from the report is that they do say, as part of their conclusion, that they think it is multiple sources. So they say some of them are probably this, some of them are probably that, and some of them are, we don't know yet. So it could be a chance that all those things are true. Hey, some of these governments may have an advanced technology, and that's some of what we're seeing. Some of what we're seeing is some kind of misinterpretation of a weather phenomenon, But some of what we're seeing is something really curious. And that's what they're saying. Like, they've got a couple buckets that they're putting these in.
Yeah, exactly. So, people, this is amazing news. We haven't heard this type of news in the UFO community like ever, that the Pentagon is coming out and talking about the UFO experience, and they talking about actual sightings that government officials have, not the average people like me and you walking down the street and we look up in the sky and we see something flying by. No, actual government officials, where it's their job to run radar, it's their job to run sonar and sensory things for the government, and these things are coming up. These pilots,
and they're coming up on our most
them.
Advanced sensors.
And our most advanced.
And you know, that was one thing that came out of the report as well, was they're saying, hey, the reason that this is of paramount importance is because a lot of these reportings are happening by our military installations, as well as they're happening, being recorded by aircraft that are our most advanced aircraft. So these things are showing up near our most advanced facilities. They're being recorded and chased by our most advanced craft using the most advanced sensors that we currently have. That, by the way, are top secret.
Exactly.
So for something to keep showing up near top secret stuff, you know, it's definitely of a concern.
And we're not the only government that has been releasing things about actually coming in contact with unidentified flying objects. The USSR has released some documents to the Russian people about their Navy subs, nuclear subs, that they had that were decommissioned, were commissioned at the time, still operating, and they came in contact with USOs, underwater flying objects, and UFOs.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Iran back in 1976 released a report that they chased a UFO. That this is the biggest report to come out ever on UFOs. This is like the most detailed and also the most evidence. I mean,
and it's the most telling, and it's for us U.S. community. The Russians got a chance to hear their alien stories about their underwater experiences in the deepest freshwater lake in the world, where they came in contact with some swimming aliens. So we got to see what's happening in the USA.
Well, and here's the other thing about it. This report is the unclassified report.
Exactly.
A few weeks back, Congress actually got the classified version of this report. And obviously they took some time to clean it up and give us our version. But what I'm interested in is, of these 80 reports that were documented with multiple sensors, release all 80 sensor data. Like, release the footage, release the radar footage, release, like, what are the 80 things? Like, I've been able to find on the internet and in the news maybe 10 different ones.
Yeah.
The tic tac, the triangle, the other one that's shaped like a barrel.
Yeah.
I've been, one that's shaped like a cube with a beach ball in it. I've seen those. That's like a handful. They've got 80 of them. They've got 11 near misses.
Exactly.
They've got 18 of them that have unusual characteristics. Where are those 18 videos?
Exactly.
Like, release, like, the footage, the evidence. What are you guys looking at?
And they talking about they released something. They released a memorandum. They released a report.
A paper
that was released to the government first. And the government looked over it, which is the Pentagon.
Yeah.
They released it to the government. The government looked over it, checked off the checks and balances of what they wanted to show to the American people. Yeah. And they re-released it to us on 25th and let the American people know what's going on.
If ours was 8 pages, How many pages was theirs, the classified one?
Exactly.
And if ours talked about this and that, did theirs talk about bodies and specimens and other things? Like, what did they cut out of the actual classified report?
And remember, it's top secret. So how top secret was the actual report to the report that we're actually getting right now?
Yeah.
And if the report we're getting right now is amazing, it's showing a lot
It
of
is.
amazing things. So I want to know how other amazing was the other top secret stuff that they took out of the initial report. Maybe it was something too amazing for the American people to bite, you know, that there's actual beings that they had actually come in contact with and they actually discovered and, you know, took them and probably operated and did autopsies on, and how their biological makeup looked different than ours.
Yeah,
We didn't get to that part. We
you know,
want to get to the nitty gritty
The
parts.
the cold part
that
about
type
it
of
is,
stuff.
you know, I would like to know at least how many pages was their report.
Yeah,
We know how
exactly.
many ours was.
Exactly.
So we can kind of guess how much they took out. But my thing is, even if they took out one sentence or one page,
Yeah.
that could have been the one where they said, hey, we have this, we have that.
Exactly.
So, you know,
Exactly. We discovered this from them, and this is what we re-engineered for us. Of course, they can't tell us everything, you know, but at least they can tell us what they actually discovered, and not just, you know, the tales of military officials that these actual objects have ran into contact with.
yeah,
Please tell us the tales of the objects that crashed,
yeah, man, we
the
want to know it
objects
all.
that you recovered.
We want to know it all. But I
Yeah.
will say this. I will say one more time. This is the biggest report we've ever got.
Yes.
This was a humongous. I mean, the numbers that we went through earlier, we've never knew the scale of what was being reported just within the government itself.
Yes.
And so to me, they obviously pruned it out, a lot of stuff. But you know what? The stuff that was here was still groundbreaking.
Yes.
And
it
I'm
was.
super excited that we're
Yes,
getting
I-
this. And
yes, I am.
I feel hopeful
Yes, I am.
that if they're going to give us this much, that there will be more to come.
Yes, there will be more to come, people.
And we're going to be on top of it too.
And we're going to ones that's giving it to you. Check Jay and Ra out there at the Out There Show. Check out our merchandise. Donate to our GoFundMe so we can have Out There posts everywhere.
Subscribe to the show.
And check us out there. Anytime you see anybody from the Out
Like
There
the
Show
show.
and we're representing, go out there and give us a like. We may give you a t-shirt. We may give you a poster. Or we may give you anything from the Out There Show. And also, we do give out donations to our winners of our raffle that we're coming up with the Out There Show. And also, we have a space news. And we're going to talk about what's going on in space, not just what's going on Earth, you know, in the average neighborhoods. You have average news for that, but we're going to give you some space news so you can see what's going on out there in space.
And also make sure you check out the description below the video. There's a link to a PDF of the full report. The
Yes.
full report to Congress. There's a link to the PDF if you want to read it and see the details for yourself. Go ahead and check it out.
So what we did today was a summary of what we seen and read from the report. We're looking out in the future for any videos that's going to come out by the Pentagon that they're going to release, and we're going to show you this actual video footage of what they're actually talking about in the report.
Right.
They haven't released that yet, but the Out There Show, we will be coming back to you and showing you all this.
And
on the
keep in
next
mind,
episode.
guys, we've only had this report for 2 days. We're giving you our initial thoughts here. We're going to take a couple of weeks to digest it, do a little more research, see what else comes out in the days that follow, and we will be doing a follow-up video to this, going more in depth and breaking down some of these numbers even more.
Well, thank you everybody out there, to all our viewers and all our listeners. Just remember, you're out there and we're out there, helping you out there know what's going on out there. So, are you ready to go out there?
So, are you ready to go out there?
To Mars, out there to the stars. With me and Ron going out there, ain't nowhere too far.
So, are you ready to go out there
to Mars, out there to the stars. When
Out
me and Jay
there.
go out there, ain't nowhere too far.
Welcome everybody out there. This Out There show, where you can take you traveling to wherever you wanna go. Welcome everybody out there. This Out There show. We try to go as far as the wormhole goes. Welcome everybody out there. This the Out There show, where Rod J and have you traveling as far as you wanna go. Welcome everybody out there. This the Out There show. We're trying to go as far as the wormhole goes. Everybody out there. This is the Out There show. Everybody out there. This is the Out There show. So, are you ready to go out there?
Out there to the stars. With me and Ron going out there, ain't
So,
nowhere too far.
Are you ready to go out there? Out there. Out
Out there
there.
to Mars, out there to the stars. When me and Jay go out there,